Fred Fleitz, thanks so much for being here.
Good to be here.
Well, a recent IAEA report confirms Iran's nuclear progress, stating that Iran's Centrifuge facility at Natanz is now producing low-enriched uranium at rates slightly exceeding what it produced before being hit by the Stuxnet computer virus. Meantime, Iran continues to develop missiles capable of hitting Europe and eventually the United States with a nuclear warhead. There is also this new unconfirmed report that Iran's Revolutionary Guards have acquired 2 missile warheads capable of being armed with a nuclear weapon. The Guards also recently published an article on its website discussing an Iranian nuclear test. In your view, does Iran have its finger on the trigger of a nuclear weapon?
Well, there certainly has been a lot of alarming news about the Iranian nuclear weapons program over the last month. Some of this news was new, some of this was unconfirmed, but I think in the final result, this adds up to the reality that Iran is indeed pursuing nuclear weapons and probably has accelerated its program. Of the news that came out over the last month that I'm most concerned about relates to Iran's uranium centrifuge program. This is a program to produce nuclear fuel either for a nuclear weapon or for a power reactor. Now, according to the IAEA, Iran is continuing to enrich uranium at its Natanz uranium centrifuge plant, and it has been able to enrich uranium at this plant despite significant breakdowns over the last year at a fairly stable level. We know that Iran now has about 4,000 kilograms of enriched uranium, which is enough uranium, if enriched to weapons grade, to make about 2 to 3 nuclear weapons. Now, what's disturbing about the recent news is that Iran appears to be moving in the direction of trying to further enrich uranium at a formerly secret site built into a mountainside near the city of Qum. Iran recently announced that it is putting very advanced centrifuge machines into the Qum facility, supposedly to enrich uranium for a medical reactor. Well, no one believes this is why Iran is actually building this facility, and it appears it is the next step in Iran's effort to move closer towards a nuclear weapon.
Now, is President Obama letting Iran acquire the nuclear weapon?
The Obama administration came into office with a rather naive view towards Iran. It seemed to think that it could charm the Iranians into dropping its pursuit of nuclear weapons and to behave as a responsible international citizen with conciliatory gestures and offers for bilateral talks. Well, the Iranians seem to play this game and appeared interested in bilateral talks when in fact it simply used these gestures to buy time to continue to develop its nuclear weapons technology and ballistic missiles. In short, the Obama-Iran policy has been an abject failure.
Now, there's increasing concern that Tel Aviv is considering a military option against Iran. Is a strike by Israel against Iran inevitable? And under what scenarios do you see the United States perhaps striking or at least supporting Israel?
Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was very clear when he talked about the Iranian nuclear program when he was in town last week, when he said, "When we say never again, we mean never again." Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has said he wants to wipe Israel off the map. This is not something that Israel is ignoring. And I think it's pretty clear that Israel is not going to stand for an Iranian nuclear weapon that could wipe Israel off the map. If Israel makes a move, I think they'll make a move quickly. No one will see it coming. Concerning the Obama administration, I don't think there's any chance that they're going to take military action.
When do you see Israel striking?
I think Israel is looking at where the Iranian nuclear program is going. It's sort of an open question when they will make a move. It sort of depends on the developments with the Iranian nuclear program.
What about sanctions? Do you think that they're working, and should the U.S. be pushing for more comprehensive sanctions?
I think sanctions have made a difference, but it's clear based on recent reports that the Iranians have continued to progress with their nuclear program despite sanctions. We have to do 2 things. First of all, the Obama administration has been very reluctant to support sanctions. They have to come out very firmly in favor of strong sanctions to stop the Iranian nuclear program. And second, the Obama administration has to make getting China and Russia on board an absolute priority so we can have tough sanctions against Iran that will really bite.
Now, what about the Green movement in Iran? Just how powerful is it? And is it strong enough to overthrow President Ahmadinejad? And if so, could we see some kind of reforms from within that could minimize the Iranian nuclear threat?
The Green movement is an underground movement and has been subject to pretty severe retaliation by the Iranian regime. There really isn't any chance they are going to overthrow the regime in the short term. However, they are still organizing, they are still a potent force below the surface, and they're waiting for their moment to move.
Do you think that President Obama is doing enough to support the Green movement there and democracy in the region?
Well, President Obama's initial response to the Green movement and the protests that took place after the June 2009 presidential elections was fairly disappointing. The U.S. was holding out hope that the Iranians would negotiate on the nuclear program, so we resisted saying anything negative about the regime's crackdown against the protesters. This was disappointing, and I think it hurt our reputation with the protesters. I think the Obama administration has been better since then, but they still have to make it clear that their priority is supporting democracy in Iran and opposing Iran's effort to repress the democracy movement.
Fred, what kind of best case, worst case scenario are we looking at here with the Iranian nuclear threat?
Well, I mean, the best case scenario is if we can find a way to unite the international community to stop Iran from getting the parts and technology and expertise to continue its nuclear weapons program. The worst case scenario is Iran using a nuclear weapon, and I guess a middle scenario would be Iran actually testing a weapon. I'm not convinced Iran will get to the stage where they can test a weapon, but they will get there if we don't stand up to them.
All right, Fred Fleitz, thanks so much.
Thank you.